Do you want to do the introductions, Prabhakar? Then we'll start.
Sure. Welcome, everyone. This is Prabhakar with the Clean and Raw Food certification. Today is our fifth Clean and Raw Food certification forum, and we're going to look at Honey New Zealand as a case study. It's a company out of New Zealand which makes Manuka honey. And I'll let Dr. Shiva charge now.
Prabhakar, do you want to just let people know what is Manuka honey?
Sure. So Manuka honey is a type of honey that is grown mostly in New Zealand, and I think there are also some farms in Australia that are making Manuka honey. But the specific reason why it is special is that it has certain bioactive compounds called MGOs that are that have been shown to have a lot of health benefits, and we'll go over some of those, including skin health, digestive health, and any like wound healing or anything to do with antibacterial properties. And then these are some of the companies that from New Zealand we have been certifying since last couple of years now, ever since we included honey as a category in our certification. It was a kind of an uphill battle to incorporate the honey as a product in our umbrella, as it is really hard to get a certification for organic honey. So we had to come up with an alternate ways where we can make sure that the product that we're certifying is actually better than organic, in a sense that it doesn't have any trace amounts of chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. So I took a lot of effort to bring in the honey as a category in our certification. All right. Shall we start, Dr. Shiva?
Yeah, there's some people in the waiting room, Prabhakar,
Okay.
if you can just let them in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's begin. So today's Tuesday, August 13th, 11 a.m. Welcome, everyone. This is the Clean and Raw Food Certification Forum. We're going to talk about honey, Honey New Zealand. So let's begin. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm one of the volunteer, Prabhakar, previous slide, I'm one of the volunteer scientists. Among other things, I also devote a set of my time to the International Center for Integrative Systems. We do many, many different projects there, all volunteer projects in many different ways to help the world community. And one of them was the development of the Clean and Raw Food certification, which came out of a need in the industry that no one was addressing. And I was asked to help about 13, 14 years ago. So that's where this came from. So let's go. So what we're going to learn today is we always review who the center is. We've been around since 2007. You guys can support us, fund us, volunteer. There's many, many different opportunities. Then we're going to go talk about one of the programs that the center does, which is a Clean and Raw program. And then in the context of that, we're going to then, as Dr. Prabhakar said, this is our fifth forum. We've been around for, nearly 13 years, but we started doing these forums to really help people understand that they can also be a participant in understanding the sourcing of food and making sure we get clean food. And then we'll talk about what's the investment for if you're an organization. Some people are organizations here, small business people who have new products that want them to get certified. And then we'll also talk about some accountability on how you guys can be part of this. And then we'll end with some special announcements. Next. So who benefits from this? Well, you could be anyone. People and animals benefit from this, pretty much everyone. Also, if you're food and dietary supplement manufacturers, farmers, restaurateurs, and ingredient suppliers, if you're in any one of those people, which is pretty much all the 8 billion people of us, you benefit from this. So this is a global certification, and it's really a solution that addresses the problem that governments and people have created who don't really care about the sourcing of food. So we actually have a solution in spite of us exposing these people, which we do. we also have a solution. Next. The categories of people who participated in the development of the certification, I mean, you'll find it on snack manufacturers. If you go to kombucha, beverages, you'll find it on honey producers, like we'll talk about today, dietary supplements, sugar, nut butters, and more. There's lots and lots of different companies, and all of this came about organically. We as a nonprofit don't really have a sales force. People started hearing about us and people came to us. Obviously, you guys listening here can be a quote unquote sales force to help yourself and help others. Next. So the Dr. Prabhakar will walk you through who is the International Center for Integrative Systems right now. Go ahead, Prabhakar.
All right, so this is a nonprofit organization that has been around since 2012, and we look at problems from a systems view. So this organization is structured with a board of directors, and the executive director oversees the daily operations. And we have different projects that we undertake at the center, including Innovation Corps. We also do it's a nonprofit again for supporting young kids, high school age kids who are innovative. So that program actually funds some of their ideas. We also look at some research and basically answering complex questions with systems thinking in the field of systems biology. One of the projects that we did was on the GMOs. And then we also have the Clean and Raw project. So Email Lab is one of our initiatives. As I mentioned, the Innovation Corp funds entrepreneurial high school students where they get some guidance on taking their ideas, innovating them, and making them feasible in the marketplace. So there is always, you can apply for the scholarship if you know anybody.
It's a very specific age group. It's for 14 through 18-year-olds. Right. And they get money, they get support, and they get infrastructure to take, as Dr. Prabhakar said. Sorry, Prabhakar, go ahead.
All right. And one of our main major activities also the through systems biology group, where we try to understand complex biological problems using systems biology approach. And one of the projects that we had was the systems biology of GMOs, where we looked at how genetically engineered soy compares with its non-genetically engineered counterpart. We published a series of 5 papers. The first 4 are listed here, where we looked at the existing research, extracted the molecular pathway information for 3 key biological processes that are affected by genetic modification. They include C1 metabolism, formaldehyde detoxification, and glutathione synthesis. So once we had that, we actually converted those molecular pathways into mathematical models. So we have a kind of experimental setup on a computer where we tested different hypotheses and tried to understand the difference between the non-GMO and GMO soy. We published a series of papers, and in our last paper, we actually were able to validate the findings of our in silico testing with a greenhouse study that came out of UK, where they were also looking at the how does the genetic modification affect a particular parameter called GSH to GSHG ratio. So GSH is glutathione, that is a master antioxidant, and lack of that actually is a signal for stress in any organism, in the animals as well as in the plants. So what they found was that in the organic or non-GMO plants, they had a high level of this ratio. That means there is a abundant amount of glutathione have its antioxidant properties, but that decreased when the plant was genetically modified. So when we looked at our data and their data, it was pretty close, indicating that our models are actually validating, and we're able to understand how exactly genetic modification is affecting this key health parameter of glutathione. As you can see here, the in vivo data means that the greenhouse data. So in the organic case, the ratio was 9.9, and we predicted 9.7, which was pretty close to what they had observed in the greenhouse study. Similarly, for when the plant was genetically modified, the greenhouse data said 3.7 for the ratio, and we predicted 3.9. So our results pretty much matched, saying that we not only have validated the greenhouse data, but also we know the mechanisms of how exactly the GMO plant is different. For this particular variable, so genetically modified plants have less amount of glutathione compared to the non-genetically modified plant. So that was the big project that we did for the GMOs in the center. So next is our raw food, clean and raw food research. So we came up with the standard in 2013, 2014, and we've been enrolling manufacturers since 2015. So it's been growing organically, and it's there are several over 500 SKUs that have been certified raw or clean or both. And one of the things that you can help with the center is by donating to the center, so we can conduct projects like the GMO research, as well as the Innovation Corp, and so on. Dr. Shiva?
Okay. Yes. So when we look at the clean and raw standard, it is a multi-system standard, because if you're trying to figure out what is clean or raw food, you can't just pick one variable. So let's walk you through this next. So in 2003, I was asked by a group of the raw food stakeholders, manufacturers, consumers, to help define raw. Kombucha is a raw product, and that had been taken off the shelves at Whole Foods because they were calling it raw. And one of the brands had a bacterial issue, and they took everything off. So whenever you start branding something under some category and you don't have a definition, it becomes problematic. So I was called in, and I've been on various standards committees. And the way standards emerge are bottoms up or top down. Top down is where the government imposes it. Bottoms up is where we as a people, it's a much harder job. You have to bring people together. It's a process. You have to define it. You have to put frameworks. So that's why I was brought in. And that's a little bit of my background. Separate from me cursing at these people who are the swarm on social media, I actually do a lot of work in biology, food and nutrition, et cetera. Next. So these are the many companies that were brought in as the stakeholders in 2013, some of them to help participate in defining the standard. Next. And the reality was, when you brought people in, you said, what is the definition of raw or clean? None of them really knew what that meant. Everyone had their own views. It was like the blind man touching the elephant. No one's seeing the whole, but having their own individual views. Some people thought raw meant vegan, or you don't heat it above 108 degrees, or it had to be vegetarian. All different ideas of what raw or clean meant. Next. So over a period of 9 months, we, through a lot of argumentation, discussion, open forums, true democracy, we came up with a final understanding, a consensus on what the principles of raw or clean would be. It had to be safe, it had to be minimally processed, and it had have high bioavailability of nutrients. And everyone agreed on this, which is great. But again, this is a systems criteria. It's not only one thing. Next. Then around this, we went and discussed what raw is, because there was a raw food movement, real, alive, and whole. And we defined a set of parameters for each one of these. And you had to get 100 points. Out of 100 points, if you got 80, you were defined as raw. And I'll have Dr. Prabhakar walk through that. Go ahead, Prabhakar.
All right, so the first criteria was real, and it had a score of, or before we go into that, the way that the standard works is that you get a total score of 100 points, and you have to have 80 or above to qualify for the seal. So the first criteria was for real, and that included the conditions for safety and non-GMO aspect of the product. So safety meant that the product was manufactured in a safe environment that adhered to the HACCP guidelines or GMP guidelines or any of the local governmental or state or federal level governmental guidelines, just to make sure that the cleanliness is maintained. There's no growth, microbial growth, or any contamination happening in the manufacturing facility. So that has a score of 0 or 25. So that's a mandatory criteria. And the ingredients that go into the product have to be non-genetically modified. So that gets a score of 0 or 25. So both of these criteria, it was decided that have to be mandatory. That means you are either safe and non-GMO, or you are unsafe and GMO. So you get, if you are safe, you get a score of 25, and if you're non-GMO, you get a score of 25. If you're neither of these, you get a score of 0. If you're one of these, you get a score of 25. The next criteria is alive. This is where we understand the bioavailability of the ingredients and their nutritional components in the product. So the range here for the score is from 0 to 20. And we use CytoSolve to calculate this score. So for example, this is a product that we had certified earlier. It's a crunchy kale chip. Once we start the process, we understand the composition of the product, which has all the ingredients, their weight percentage, and also what are the conditions under which the product is manufactured. For example, how long is it heated, how much it is heated, what temperature, and so on. Once we have that information, we look at the existing scientific literature to understand the nutritional composition of each ingredient in the product. So, for example, kale has, and we only select the top 3 to 4 active bioactive molecules in each ingredient based on their weight percentage. So, kale has vitamin C, beta carotene, lutein, and zeaxanthin as a top 4 nutritional components in it, and so on. So, for each of these ingredients, we identify these molecules, and then at the same time, we also identify at what temperature these molecules will get destroyed, because these are proteins or enzymes, and they have a thermal stability associated with them. So after a certain temperature, they will get degenerated, or they basically will get disintegrated. So once we understand that information, we use CytoSolve to understand the bioavailability. That means how much of these how many of the molecules are present after the processing is done to those. So we get a chart like this at the end of that process. So as you can see on the left-hand side here, on the bottom side, we have the processing temperature going from 100 to 220, and on the y-axis, we have the bioavailability. So as the temperature increases for this particular product, you can see that the bioavailability was pretty high, close to 100% for temperatures up to 120 degree Fahrenheit. But it drops to almost 83 beyond 120, and it is stable all the way up to 150 degree Fahrenheit before it drops below 60% at higher temperatures. So this kind of scientific analysis actually not only tells us what is the availability of ingredients, but also informs us the safer temperature ranges for processing these products. So Brad's was processing their products at a very low temperature for a long time, but seeing this analysis, they were actually able to increase their throughput because they were able to actually increase the time, the temperature of drying. So that way they can reduce on the amount of drying that they needed. So unlike the religious view that people had before, anything above a certain temperature is dead. Here, with this kind of scientific analysis, we can tell how much of the product is still available for digestion with all its nutritional benefits. So this is the same CytoSolve approach that we take to analyze the ingredients from natures, and we take those from nutraceuticals or products that are highly bioavailable. For example, one of our products has ingredients that are sourced from nature, from ingredients like chamomile, parsley, celeriac, spinach, and so on, or grapefruit, bitter orange, and so on. So we use this CytoSolve innovation process to understand the scientific literature, extract the molecular information for a particular indication. For example, in this case, it was joint health. And then we create a systems architecture. We create these mathematical models, we publish, and we basically create a product from that is based on the natural ingredients. So we looked at two of these key bioactive elements, which are bioflavonoids from chamomile and bitter orange. And we looked at their effect on four different mechanisms of joint health that included the inflammation, oxidative stress, the pain signaling, and we were able to create a nutraceutical based on this biological process. So this is MV25. Uh, and we'll go through a little bit of detail later on the presentation. So the next criteria is, or the last criteria is whole, and that has the conditions for organic and nutrient density. So organic means that how many ingredients in the composition are organic, and for products such as honey, we have a different criteria where we measure the residue analysis of the toxic pesticides, herbicides, and so on. So the score for that ranges from 0 to 20. And nutrient density is a score that we take it from the Andy score, which is put out by Whole Foods for all the natural ingredients. And that goes from 0 to 10. The total score for this criteria is 30. So once we analyze this, so if your product gets 80 or above, then you are eligible for the certified raw seal. So when we published the standard at Expo West in 2015, we got a great response, and people say that what we are defining here is not just what can be called as raw food, but also ethical and clean and nutritious food. So some of the people at that time were wanting to branch out into mainstream retailers where not everybody is aware of the whole raw food movement, and they wanted to come up with an alternate branding or a sister standard where which is more acceptable for or accessible for a lot of the population. That's where we came up with certified clean. So again, the criteria is same. So you have to be safe. You have to have organic, non-GMO ingredients, and you have to have a bioavailability, certain bioavailability, and the product has to be nutritious. So the scoring system also is similar. You have to have 80 or above out of 100 to be eligible for the seal. The only difference here is the temperature. So that means the temperature that the ingredients are exposed to. So for certified raw, the ingredients cannot be exposed to temperatures beyond 212, which is the boiling point of water. But for clean, as long as you are compliant with all these conditions, the conscious, live, ethical, active, and nutritious, you are eligible for the certification. So that's the only difference. And the another change that we made recently was that the dietary supplements will only be considered for certified clean. And even though their processing is below 210, they cannot be eligible for certified raw. So that's the second standard that we have. So again, this is our center, and we would keep continuing such kind of research-based or systems-based projects. We would appreciate a donation. So coming to the case study, so today's and our stakeholder is Honey New Zealand. They're a Manuka honey company out of New Zealand, and they are certified raw. It was so a big background on the Honey New Zealand company. They were founded in 1909. They are a leading producer of Manuka honey. Their honey is harvested and packed in New Zealand, and they meet a incredibly high standard that is set forward by the New Zealand government, and they have been certified raw since actually 2022. that's when we started the honey, incorporate the honey in our product portfolio. So some of the health benefits of Manuka honey that have been very well studied in the scientific literature and also traditionally being used in the ancient cultures. So Manuka honey has been found to be really useful in wound healing. So the wounds heal faster when you have when you apply the Manuka honey to the wound. It has also been known to improve oral health, and like most of the honeys, it is also able to ameliorate cough. It's known to relieve gastric ulcers, aid in digestion, and skin health, especially acne. So if you apply honey to the, especially the Manuka honey to acne, it has been shown that they will clear out faster than if you don't. So those are some of the health benefits. About the company and their core values, they really pride in their transparency. They every single part of honey uh, can be traced back to the specific hive in the apiary where it was created, and because of the strict non-GMO regulation environment that the New Zealand government has provided, each uh, part of the honey is as nature intended, so that it is at at its purest level. Their honey is also it also undergoes exhaustive testing to the highest standards for specific markers such as the MGO, methyl glyoxal, that is the active compound that imparts the health benefits of Manuka honey, so that the customers actually get a genuine product. And thirdly, they also promote sustainability, where they are the steward of the land. They take care of their beehives as well as the beekeepers, uh, and they also maintain a strict chain of command from extraction to packing facilities, from production, the trees, the hives, and so on, so that every step of the process is monitored with the strict guidelines. So how did the Manuka honey fare on the raw food standards? So the first criteria is real. So they were safe, and since the whole country of New Zealand is a non-GMO, the honeybees that collected the pollen that they collected came from the non-GMO trees. So they got a score of total score of 50 on that aspect. For the availability, because they did not process the honey at a significant high temperature, there's most of the active compounds in the honey were, in fact, all of them were intact. They scored a highest score of 20, and the trace analysis of pesticide herbicide came out to be much lower than even what is found in the organic products, and the honey product was pretty nutrient dense. They scored another again a top score for this criteria as well. They had a score of 100. And just to summarize, they have been certified raw since 2022, and their total score was 100. That's how they were eligible for certified raw, and they met the raw, alive, and whole criteria with top scores by processing the nutrient dense ingredients in a safe environment with non-GMO ingredients without any trace of pesticides or herbicides. All right. So the next question is, how much does it cost? Or what is the investment that is required to get certification like that? So I have, we are a very transparent in making sure that people understand what kind of investment is required. So if you can see the curve here, so there is a curve that we use to get a factor. So the x-axis is the revenue of a company, and the y-axis gives us a factor. As the at the lower end of the revenue, the factor is smaller, so your investment will be less as compared to the investment on the higher end of the revenue cycle. But it doesn't go up linearly. So there is a plateau where, just because you have a high revenue, it doesn't mean that you will have to pay exorbitant amount of money for getting the certified, unlike the other certification like non-GMO or organic. There are 4 parameters that we use to calculate the investment. First is the number of manufacturing sites, total number of products that you want to certify, total number of unique ingredients across the products. What we mean by that is that, let's say you have 2 products. One contains, let's say, cashews, almonds, and butter, and the second one contains cashews, sunflower seeds, and um, maple sugar. So the total unique ingredients would be cashews, almonds, butter, and maple sugar. So 4 instead of 6. And then the last parameter is the size of the company. So if we put in some numbers, let's say there's 1 manufacturing site, the products are being produced. If we take the example of honey, so there's only 1 product, and then there's only 1 ingredient. And let's say a revenue of maybe for a startup company, we can assume maybe at $50,000. That's 0.05 millions. So if you want to go for both certified clean and raw, the investment is $263 per product. And if you increase the revenue, let's say 1 million, it will go up to 465. So it's not like proportionately increasing. Now, this is also a factor of, say you have different products, let's say 5 products with 10 ingredients, then it will go up based on total number of ingredients and products, but it is not exponentially going higher for a particular revenue. So that's the investment guidelines. So how can you help with our mission? There are a few things. One is, as I've mentioned before, is to donate to the International Center for Integrative Systems. And I'll put a link out at the end of this call, where that donation will help us conduct many more scientific projects, such as the GMO project, the Innovation Core, and so on. You can also get your products certified if you are a manufacturer. We can have a. I'll also send a link at the end of the call where we can set up a meeting and then talk about how we can get your product certified. You can become an affiliate where you actually refer manufacturers, food manufacturers, supplement manufacturers to us. That way you also can get some commission on that. You can also buy CytoSolve product, but some of the revenue from CytoSolve also is used for the research that we do at the center. And again, fund the research, CytoSolve research, as well as the research at the center. And not last but not least, join the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement. So the way that you can donate is go to our website, and on the homepage itself, you have a way to donate. I'll put the website in the chat later. There are some products that you can buy on our website and support us. The t-shirts that show the certified raw and clean. You can get your product certified, and this is the link that I'll post in the chat.
Yeah, I think it's Prabhakar. I think it's important you add that to everyone, so everyone understands that this is highly participatory. If you bring up the standards document, Prabhakar, I think people need to understand the amount of effort that's gone into a standard. So if you go pick up a light bulb, you'll notice that the light bulb has a seal on it. Computer has a seal on it. Pretty much everything that's out there, consumer product, has a seal on it. And those are validated by standards committees, which are typically either government or by stakeholders and citizens. So this is our actually standards document. As Dr. Prabhakar scrolls through this, this is a document that we have to update every little word, every little paragraph. Whenever we're going to, let's say we haven't created a standard for, I think people ask for eggs, right? Raw eggs or raw milk. We have the framework now to define that standard. This is sort of the structural document that helps us define standards. So it's like this is the protocol. That means everyone in the world will use to decide what is clean and raw. So it's a very detailed standard, and every line, every word in this stuff has been put together by tens of thousands of man hours of everyday people's work dealing with people. Because if we don't put a standard together, then the government can say, "Oh, you're just making up stuff." So it's a lot of work. Okay.
We also do audits.
Yep. And then we also do audits. So for example, at the last meeting, people wanted to do egg and raw milk. So we're building a standard on that. That'll take us several months. And then the nice thing about some of these products that you guys are proposing is you guys can be the actual citizen auditors or the citizen inspector. So think about the opportunity here. We're not waiting for the government, the USDA or some WHO. It is we the people standard. So we've had to do this very, very diligently and very, without any fanfare. But now it's become an international standard. So as Dr. Prabhakar said, when it came to honey, honey is very difficult to certify because, as he mentioned, the hive has to be, 3 miles, right, Prabhakar?
Yeah.
Outside of a place that they're spraying. But we found out that people are certifying stuff, as Dr. Prabhakar said, as organic. But then when you actually looked at the levels of pesticide in there, they were worse than the ones that were wild grown honey who couldn't get the certification because they couldn't prove that the honey didn't, where it had flown. So that's why what we've done, we believe, is a much higher standard because we're actually getting the chemical levels and we check it. So ultimately, that's probably much, much better than just believing somebody saying they got the U.S. organic seal. But it's not only that, they have to prove it's whole and alive and all those very, very important things, which we've also created a standard on. So again, I think the net of this is honey is a very, very complex food. To certify it, I think Prabhakar, we've been talking about this for 3-5 years now, right?
5 years, yeah.
5 years. So it took us a lot of work to do this, but it's here now for the world to use, for all you guys to use. So if you have honey manufacturers in your local areas, we have a standard that can help them get certified wherever you are. And then you can help actually be one of the inspectors or auditors in your area or your country, wherever you are. So again, this is a solution that is part of our larger movement for truth, freedom, health. Prabhakar, if you can just bring up that slide with the food and the 3 things as we close so people understand, even the solutions we have are in the context of a system. So if you go here, you'll notice that our goal here is to recognize that where the sourcing of food is, we have the clean and raw. How we combine compounds from natural foods to create products is CytoSolve. And then how we determine the methodology and the framework so you can determine what's the right food for the right person at the right time is systems health. Now, all of you can participate in all of these, are part of it, but just know that we spent, 3 decades building these solutions, independent of all the work we do in exposing the swarm, as we call it. So one way that you guys can be involved is support clean and raw food. Go to the International Center for Integrative Systems. If you have a lot of money, donate, because everything we do is done volunteer work. So all of us are doing some other job and we do this, okay? We have no full-time staff. Imagine what would happen if we had more funding, we had full-time staff. We could probably take this everywhere. So that's one way. You guys can be part of the movement for Truth, Freedom, Health. Become a warrior scholar. Prabhakar, you can do, and go to truthfreedomhealth.com and you can support what we're doing there. You actually get to support yourself. And you learn the principles of system science. Those are the principles that we use to create clean and raw. So you guys should go there. There's a lot of free stuff there. There's a certification program. You can get involved globally. You can be political. You can be health. You can be a health educator. You can also become a citizen scientist. So there's many ways you guys can help. Let's finish up the presentation, Prabhakar.
All right.
So in finishing up, I hope you understand this is an international standard. You can support if you guys have ideas, if you guys want products to be certified, schedule a meeting with us and we'll set aside some time to have longer conversation. And some of you have been doing that. Next. The other thing you can do is you can be an affiliate. You can introduce other manufacturers to Clean and Raw. And again, use the link to set up time if you know of other people. Again, this is a certification that's very, very affordable for a company that's only making $10,000 in revenue or someone who's making $1 billion in revenue. We scale it. Next. Buy CytoSolve products. We have used CytoSolve, which has donated its resources to Clean and Raw to create products. And Dr. Prabhakar will play you a video. So MV25 is a product that is created using the principles of bioavailability and science. And this product is quite amazing because it comes from natural products. Anyone here can become an affiliate if you want to be someone who wants to resell the product or promote it. But first of all, we'll just take a quick quote unquote a commercial break and play this video, which will let you know what is.
Millions of people suffer every day from painful discomfort and swelling, but most pain medications come with harsh side effects, and many alternative supplements have little scientific backing. That's why we at CytoSolve created MV25. MV25 was formulated using the CytoSolve Computational Systems Biology Platform, a technology for precision and personalized health invented by Dr. Shiva during his doctoral research at MIT. This formulation is the result of computing trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions derived from thousands of peer-reviewed scientific papers published across 4 decades by 68 research institutions to discover an optimal synergy of compounds that downregulate biomarkers of discomfort and normal swelling.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ann. My hands would cramp up so that I couldn't hold cards or knit or crochet, and they would go like that. And I'd have to use this when I played cards with my grandkids, and I started taking that MV25. After a bit, I was able to hold cards in my hand, very, very little cramping, hardly at all anymore. MV25.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I tore my ACL during Taekwondo. I had a lot of pain and limited mobility. I've been taking the MV25 for about 6 months now. After the first week, I noticed a big difference. After the second week, almost literally no pain.
My name is Jeremy, and I suffer from a lower back problem. Hurt my back at work years ago, and I can go to the chiropractor, do all kinds of different things, and nothing seems to help. And I decided to try MV25. I didn't notice a difference immediately, but within a few days, the pain went away, and it stayed away. I've continued to take it, and even when I do things that I shouldn't do, it seems to go away a lot quicker than it ever did before.
MV25 is certified clean, 100% non-GMO, made in America, and GMP certified for good manufacturing practices. MV25 is CytoSolve optimized, which means that this formula has been engineered to maximize benefits while minimizing toxicity based on current research curated by CytoSolve. As the science advances, so will this formulation. This is our promise. Order online at mv25.life. Consult your doctor before taking any supplement or medication and use as directed. MV25.
So MV25 uses the same engine that helps us do the bioavailability analysis to understand from foods what are the right compounds and how to mix them together. We've done the same for pets also. And people are finding this product quite amazing because the pets want to eat it. It has very interesting, almost a very natural smell to it when you get it, but it's a powder, you mix it in with food. But it too came from understanding the multiple types of compounds in food that can help pets. It's food. Next. So you can also fund research. Our entire basis is to support the principles of indigenous medicine and traditional medicine. If Dr. Prabhakar goes back to that original slide, which talked about the foundations of clean and raw, which is safe. If you bring that up again, Prabhakar, safe, bioavailable, and minimally processed, you'll find out that most traditional systems of food were based on these principles: safe, minimally processed, and bioavailability. So most cultures, for example, traditional cultures don't eat salads per se, because they could have tons and tons of parasites unless you're going to mix a lot of hot foods in there, the peppers and the garlic, right? But they did do some processing to the food. So, for example, the carnivores will say, oh, don't eat vegetarian food, it has lectins. Well, that's true, but traditional medicine people would do things to process that food. So, for example, the way they made it bioavailable was they would soak, let's say, grains, or they would sprout them and then throw away the water, or fermentation. So traditional medicines always understood not something was good or bad, but how you process things. And that's what we're talking about. So those three principles which govern clean and raw come from, in many ways, we didn't know about this, but they come from traditional principles. So next. So everything we do is to also eliminate the need for animal testing. All the clean and raw is not based on using animal testing. Next. And part of what we're doing is to really give people an alternative to the collusion that takes place in science between big government, big academia, big publishers, and big pharma. Again, this is a solution. Next. So you can also support the CytoSolve Open Science Institute, which is working on many, many different initiatives in 35 different areas of disease. And we're actually discovering combinations of natural ingredients from nature, which actually go address those diseases. Next. And donate, support us. You become a Truth from Health warrior. You can be a free member. You get a ton of stuff. You can be a paid member, get on a certification program. There's many ways for you guys to participate. Is that it, Prabhakar?
Yeah.
Anyway, join Truth Freedom Health. Become a part of this movement, which is a powerful movement which teaches people the politics of how those who oppress us work. You can come to our every Thursday's open house. Okay. Come to our tutorials that we do if you want to become a systems health educator. vashiva.com/tutorial. We're building a network of health educators. And for some of you who want to change careers, it's a great opportunity. It's going to be a very, very large career. It's about $30 billion is going to go into this field of health education. Next. Again, everything we do is systems-based thinking, fighting, and healing. Next. And then we have solutions for each one of those. And the final special announcement is, if you want to be a citizen food inspector, let us know, because we're looking for people who want to audit our own processes. That's it. Let's take questions, Prabhakar. Again, to those of you who joined late, we just did a presentation, and this video and audio will be up on the CytoSolve site.
The Clean Food site.
Clean Food site,
in the next few days, yeah. And you can also see those videos, the previous videos on the website. I'll put the link there.
Can you show it to people where it is, Prabhakar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people have asked us to tape them and put them up. The difference is you don't get to do Q&A there. Here at the live version,
Right.
you do.
So if you go on the main website, and there's a tab called Forum. If you click on Forum, you'll be able to see all the previous video lectures. And today's will be up here as well in the next few days. So I will put this link in the chat.
Any questions on Clean Raw, the honey, how you guys would like to participate? If not, it's 12. We'll close. Prabhakar, you may want to give people the links to Truth Freedom Health and also to the System Self tutorial if they want to come next Friday.
Yeah.
Or the following Friday, yeah.
So there's a
Alright.
question about a T-shirt. Where can I buy a T-shirt? I think it's on back order right now. We will.
But where they can buy it, Prabhakar? It's on
uh,
Clean Food site, right? On vashiva.com.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
sure. I'll put a link right now.
Yeah, Dr. Prabhakar will send you a link. Any other questions? Prabhakar, when do we have our next standards meeting?
In December.
Right. So in December, we actually have an open public hearing where people can participate if you want to talk about new things, or you can even suggest ideas now. Great. If there's no other questions, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Prabhakar. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.